What's up, everybody? This is DHaus with the Wild Wormhole here to talk about my own games in the top 16 of Shadow Worlds KIP tournaments, which has since announced that it is closing the site, and I'm very sad but super grateful for all the work they did. Put on this amazing event with 75 teams with 3 players on each, so 225 players. Got online during this crazy coronavirus season that we're in, and jammed out some competitive games. Somehow we went 5-1, only losing to Team Reap Out Earth, and made top 16. So it was myself and Jay Bray, Jim, and Seven Hog Kevin on a team, and I was the Triad player. And I recorded my games. I did not stream it live because I'm not good at commenting on my own play in a competitive environment and also playing well, and I wanted to play well. So I recorded them to do commentary over later, and so hopefully I can do that without spoiling anything either way. So we're going to jump right in. We were playing against the Utau Vapors. My opponent was Hartmanator, and the decks you're looking at on screen are the 3 decks that he brought to the table. Prittery, Creeknose, Triptyfoot, the Carpenter that hides Smog, and the Miss of Salipolis. And they released the deck names and decks ahead of time because some were on stream, and they felt like the fairest way to do it is just release all the decks at the same time. So I got to look at these the week before, and I'd already determined, even though I started to have a little cold feet right at the very end, I determined that I was going to ban this one right here, the Miss of Salipolis, because look at this deck. It's got double tribute with Scutum, by the way. It's got Perfectus Ludo. It's got Odiac stopping some steel, which does influence some of my decks. And then in Starline's double Stealth Mode, double Kirby, Quixelstone, triple Light of the Archons. I mean, that alone, with the Commander Chan as well. I mean, this is nasty. And then you look in Untamed, as if that's not bad enough. Double Mimicry, Gravid Cycle. So basically, you could do like a third Mimicry and just consistently get crazy value out of actions with the Quixelstone out there. I hate playing against Quixelstone decks. I lost to one in the event. I came back and eventually did beat him on his other deck twice. But going into this, I just knew this was the deck I wanted to ban. And I did talk to him later. He said in every Triad game, every single opponent banned this deck. Not to say these aren't good, but this one just looks so nasty. So you'll see here, I'm going to go ahead and play this, but wanted to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek. You can look at the other deck list. They're pretty nasty. The middle one is a great AOA deck.
Yeah,
he went ahead. I'll show you my decks. I'm going to pause here. These are the 3 decks that I brought to Triad. And all 3 of these decks are decks that I opened in different situations. This one I bought, it was Christmas last year, and wanted to teach my brother Keyforge, and actually 2 years ago, right when the game released. And I went to the store just to buy a deck to teach my brother how to play Keyforge, and I got this nasty thing right here. Love this. It's classic Coda Rush with a little bit of control. So in this, you have double Ember Imp, Charette, Schuler, the Terror. The only thing you really don't like is the Annihilation Ritual. I don't like doing that because the creatures are pretty important for this deck, so I often discard Annihilation Ritual. But logos, you got Time Traveler, double Twin Bolt Mission, Skippy Time Hog, one of my favorite cards, and then Desania, which came into play in the Swiss part of the event. There's one time I was playing a triple Eddie deck and played Desania to discard 4 cards in the archives and get 4 embryos. It felt pretty great. But the Untamed is nasty. You got double Nature's Call, double Dew Fairy, Dust Pixie, Flaxia, Witch of the Eye. You can do some like really nasty stuff there. But classic Coda Rush. Cartier the Type Purse is actually my favorite deck that I own. I got this in a random sealed event at my local game store. But in this, you've got Rise, double Control of the Week. Gateway to this with a Rise is amazing, especially with the double Ember Imp, Drumble, Terror, Snudge, Succubus. I mean, I've talked to some opponents, and they've said if I could just build my own disc suite, like in a constructed game, this is how I would build it, and I totally agree. But it's real great to get them get a ton of amber because you keep lashing them. You Gateway to Disc, kill everything, and then Arise everything back. Drumble captures everything because they have 0 Amber. Terror bursts up, and then they have to deal with 2 Ember Imps. The control is disgusting. In Mars, the Mars is actually my favorite part about the deck. But you've got a little bit of board control with Ammonia Clouds and Orbital Bombardment. You got some like efficient card draw with Battle Fleet. Sniffer is hardly ever used. It's pretty much a waste of a card, except it gives you an Amber Pip and thins your deck. But double Grabber Jammer is amazing. Triple Yixley Marauder is phenomenal when you've got some Mars creatures out there. Actually, not in this match, but in another match against, I believe it was Ned Mike. I was able to play 2 Marauders at the end of the game, to each of them capturing 2, and essentially won me the game to pull them off check and put me ahead. But Jammer Pack with the Grabber Jammers. So between the Lash of Broken Dreams, the Jammer Pack, Grabber Jammers, you can make your opponent's keys cost a lot. And in the middle of that, you can also double Miasma them from Shadows, Poison Wave for some board control, double Relentless Whisper, Shadow Self. Typically try to protect the Drumbles or the Ember Imps with the Shadow Self here. And then my third deck here is a deck I opened in a Target Worlds Collide starter, the infamous starters. Not as high SAS. It's only a 74, but it's pretty great with double Key Cheat with Key Charge and Obsidian Forge, and got double Exhume, and your Exhume target here. You could Ronnie, but honestly, it's the quadruple Harmonia right here, where your opponent goes super wide on their board. You just keep getting tons of Amber by playing Harmonia. It's very common to like I'll play out Greater Oxstead as a taunt, surround them with Harmonias, and then if they build any kind of board, they get punished. And if they don't build the board, I just play Song of the Wild to Fittest and just reap to victory here. So it's kind of a catch-22 when you're playing against it. And it has just nasty stuff to really like burst forward. But the quadruple Harmonia is a ton of fun. Double Hawk for artifact control. Love that as well. And then, of course, with the Ronnie and the Too Much Protect. Honestly, the Shadows is the weakest part of the deck. And a lot of times with like Greater Oxstead, I end up purging at the end of my turn, purging the Shadow stuff. Although Simon against Saurians is solid to be able to pop the ward and get the Amber back and put them back on the deck and all that stuff too. So he decided to ban Early of Nightbridge Graveyard. I was able to ask him about that after the match, and he said they play tested the matchup, and the rush was insane, and he just didn't feel like he could slow it down well enough. I thought it was maybe the double Hawk because of his Quixelstone deck, but he said that wasn't it. It was just the rush factor. So enough setting that up. Let's get to the games. Let me see if I can fast forward here a little bit and see what we can do. So I opt to go. I opt to go first with, or not to go first. I obviously it's randomly. With Cartier is my baby. It's the deck I have the most reps with. I'm very comfortable with it. It has a pretty solid win record for me, so I opted to go with Cartier the Typer. So I'm going to break up this video. I'm just going to do game 1. And he was playing Prittery Creeknose Triptyfoot, which is a Brobnar Disc Coda deck. Brobnar with triple Gauntlet of Command, which is pretty crazy. You got in Disc double Arise with Shaffle, Snudge, and triple Succubus, which I was very nervous about. But I was thinking my Ammonia Clouds and Poison Waves and stuff like that I might want to hold on to. Also, this deck has Long Fuse Mind, which is perfectly for Succubus. And then Shadows, Bait and Switch, Lights Out, which didn't worry me too much. But I forgot to mention in this deck I do have Psychic Network with Mars, which is a very surprise. A lot of people aren't familiar with that card because it is a rare and you hardly see it played. But when it does come down, you steal 1 for every ready Mars creature. So there are times you can steal 2, 3, if you're really lucky, like 4, which is pretty rare. But the Mars package is like very control-y and manipulative. So if you leave the Mars creatures out there, it's pretty strong. So went ahead and kept my hand because I've got the Terror. And I feel like if he doesn't go for, I'm going second. I've got double Ember Imp, Snudge, the Terror. I mean, Snudge and the Terror in your opening hand is pretty nasty because Snudge, when they're going first, you can potentially just pop whatever they play back to their deck. And you see the Snudge is actually a foil on Kip, which I love. I think this nudge foil looks like nasty. You can just focus on that and look at how amazing it looks. As it changes. Oh, look at it changing. Oh, it's green. It's red. What's it doing? So this is obviously like a great opening hand to get just 4 nasty disc creatures on the board real quick. The Terror is great for like bursting amber, and then also just like a great fighter at 5 power. You don't care if he dies. Honestly, you want your disc creatures a lot earlier in the deck because of the Arise, because you want to get them out there. They'll probably get killed or whatever, and then you have a lot of Arise targets later. So I like getting Terror, and then I'm okay if he hits the discard pile for later. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I think, so he's going first. He did mulligan, back down to 6, and we'll get this thing going. So he goes, chooses disc, puts down Pit Demon. Again, solid disc option. The Terror is a great response to Pit Demon, even though he can steal. It makes no sense for me not to go here with double Ember Imp.
Got a hand of disc, so
and just burst the board there.
It's gonna be a wasted turn.
I wish I would have seen some disc stuff here in my hand. The Yixley Marauder is another foil and looks pretty sweet. Another one of those things I'll be sad about. Kip being away is just seeing the foils. Like, I just think that's so cool. What a unique thing for us to do. My teammates are like I said, Jay Bray and Seven Hog, Jim and Kevin. Kevin's on Archon solo with Wherever Femur Bayou Overlord, which is our crazy. There's a Saurian key charge with Senator Brockus and like 4 Phalanx strikes. It's pretty like weird Saurian like bursty type deck.
I think that I will do the exact same thing.
And then Jay Bray is all right, so he goes with Anger to ready and fight with Pit Demon again with the double Ember Amp. That always poses like a unique issue for them. So he does get double Anger in his opening hand to ready and fight, which is unfortunate. He's able to take him. Oh, but he chooses to fight Snudge. It's been a little bit since I played this, so I don't remember every single turn. So yeah. I guess it makes sense because Snudge putting it back in their hand with double Ember Imp, but at the same time, those Ember Imps can do some work as well. So opts and go with Mars. Again, I like to get some Mars stuff out there in case I do draw into the Psychic Network. You want to have some creatures going. I put the Jammer Pack on the Terror just because I want him to potentially target the Terror. He's making his keys cost more. But this is what I love about this deck is I just have a couple creatures out there in an upgrade, and his keys cost 9 just by existing. So I think this deck is what makes like Coda Mars my favorite house of the original set.
Why?
It's just because the and so like it's actually funny. I got so obsessed with like Psychic Network and Hypnotic Command that I actually went on Decks of Keyforge and I spent hours looking for a deck with Psychic Network, Hypnotic Command, and at least 7 Mars creatures. And I found one that the guy was selling for like $5, and it's like a 67 sass, and it's one of my favorite decks for sure. So he goes Shadows, Moon Cursor, Selling the Fence, and Carlo Phantom. Now, Carlo Phantom's the guy that every time he plays an artifact, he gets to steal one, and I think he has something like 5 artifacts in this deck. Moon Cursor has the fight. He's got poison. He fights and he steals one. So they're both bad news for me, and especially like even just trying to like. So it's basically like Moon Cursor could kill my Ember Imp, which I want to keep out there. Carlo Phantom could just keep playing artifacts and steal my stuff, and while also like potentially he could kill the Ember Imp. So I'm debating what to do here. End up going Shadows and kill the Moon Cursor. No, Carlo Phantom. Which one? Which one am I gonna go for?
I got the first key, but he just marched in generosity to now the board.
Sorry, I genuinely don't mean to pander. But okay, so I killed him because I knew all the artifacts were coming, and I just didn't want to deal with it. I felt like I could deal with him killing my Ember Imp. He'd slowed him down enough that I could I was happy with where it was, and then you'd have to go back to shadows and potentially not have any shadow stuff to play. So went ahead and emptied my shadows hand with archiving the miasma for later to use when I would need to. Love seeing the Marauder in hand with 2 Mars creatures out there, potentially capture 2 and burst it or push up his power level. And you see the Drumble there too. Obviously, Drumble's not very effective right now, but again, like a lot of times, like you want to play toward the Arise, so it's okay if you like have to play the Drumble out early, or because if you can't archive him, and then just eventually he dies, and you play right into the Arise Drumble Terror play. I am at check here with 7 Amber already.
Just didn't cycle as fast.
Oh my gosh.
Looks like he's deciding what to do. So hand is a little awkward on the shadow side because I've got Miasma and Archives. I got Miasma in hand, Subtle Maul, and Relentless Whisper. Although I do like seeing Relentless Whisper against the Moon Cursor to potentially steal and kill a threat of stealing and also killing my Ember Imp if he doesn't kill it quickly. So he is going shadows. Yeah, so he does do exactly what I thought. He kills the Ember Imp and then plays Ghostly Hand. But that's all he has. So, again, I feel like it was okay killing Carlo Phantom because he's not really emptying his hand. He's not cycling real quickly. So the Double Emperor slowed him down enough that I could like sort of burst ahead, forge my first key, and get a solid lead. So what's kind of cool about this deck is it can... If it starts slow, it can recover because of all the control. But if the control comes early, there's a lot of like burst potential as well. So Marauder, I am going Mars. Marauder's coming down, captures 2. Now he's a power 4. Bolter's coming down. Grabber Jammer is gonna reap, and I think I'm debating whether to just kill the Moon Cursor with Marauder or reap. Again, I like the Psychic Network that I have potentially coming, but I have captured a lot of his Amber already. So just ended up to reap because I feel like he's not going to go back to Shadows this next turn. He just played, 1 card, so he's probably itching to go a different direction at this point. So I don't think the Moon Cursor is a big threat.
He was able to he showed it in key charge.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Keys, and his deck just hit right away.
Gotcha.
So his keys still cost 9 because I have the Jammer pack and the Grabber Jammer out there.
What happened, man?
He is going Dis. So we're going to see his Dis package.
So him getting my Eddie early just kind of me in E-spot.
So I did draw into another Yixley Marauder. It's weird the timing I'm getting because, again, like that's a phenomenal play when if he does burst up. He opts to Hand of Dis, destroy the Grabber Jammer. I'm always sad. Grabber Jammer, it's one of my favorites.
So he has Dis in hand.
But Marauder is still pretty nasty if you can't deal with the stuff. So an early Arise comes into play. He does have 2, so it doesn't really hurt him too much. But he opts to take a chain to get the Pit Demon. I'm sorry about this. I kept getting kicked out of my group chat.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Like when I was trying to talk to my teammates, and I couldn't figure out why I was doing that. Eventually, I think I figured out that
Guys, can you hear
I
me?
just had to leave it completely and then rejoin. So sorry for the interruption here, people. All right, so he does get double Succubus, which I hate to see, honestly, because drawing 2 less cards and he's got Pit Demon out there. Like I can see the writing on the wall if I don't deal with these Succubi. Is that the plural of multiple Succubus? I just know it's going to be bad news for me. So at this point, I think I'm just debating what I want to do with these guys.
David, how's your game going?
So I've got the Marauder. Again, I can capture 2. I can't capture 3 because he only has 2 Amber. Again, Marauder gets +1 power for each amber on it, and then you, as a play effect, capture 1 for each friendly
Kev, can you hear me?
ready Mars
I can
creature.
hear you.
Okay.
Every once in a while,
Yeah,
I'll
you're
forget
right.
the ready piece and
No.
just let my opponent know I'm thinking I'm not I'm not disconnected. Sometimes you gotta do that with
He said
these
he can
online
hear
games.
us, but we can't hear him. Weird.
Maybe
I'm also
make sure
looking
it's
at the
on
long
mic.
fuse mines I have here.
Yeah,
It has the
I'm
Omni
sure.
effect. You discard it, you deal 3 to all of the enemy creatures not on a flank.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm looking at it with a potential, like I know I can kill Moon Cursor, I can kill, or do 3 to Pit Demon, maybe trade someone with it, or reap with Yixula Bolter,
Not good.
and kill the Pit Demon. I have the 4 power Marauder with 2 amber.
Shiitake mushroom.
So I do opt to go Mars,
Yeah, he's already got
drop the
90.
Marauder,
He just played
captures
90
amber.
and does
Sniffer again, just as an action, as an art
You
that
get flank strike?
enemy creatures lose
got
elusive.
1, but I don't have a board.
I think I've used it like maybe 3 times in the
Need one.
50 games or whatever I played. So went ahead and popped the long fuse mines.
Gotcha.
It's almost bite the bullet.
So that I can reap with
Sucks.
Bolter, kill the
I
Pit
can't
Demon,
do anything.
fight with the 4 power Marauder, kill one of the Succubus, and then reap. So he still has a Succubus out there, but it's just the one. It's not Pit Demon and 2 Succubus.
I mean,
So-
when you're going into it, that was just
Yeah.
kind of
So he goes Brobnar, drops the first Gauntlet of Command. Remember, he has 3 of them. Here's the Troll. Here's the Crump. Don't like seeing Crump. I've got a lot of low power creatures, so I feel like Crump is a pretty significant threat. And then he goes ahead and stuns my Bolter.
Bummer.
So I'm in a very awkward spot here because I have no Mars cards in hand.
Let's
The
cover
Gateway would be disastrous
You
for
gotta mix the
me
shadow stuff too, so, like, it was
because of the
you
amber I
have
have
to
on my
basically
Mars
deal with the
guys.
shadow stuff and
So I'd be giving him 4 amber and giving myself
he
3
can only
chains.
the rest of the game at this point. Keep out in his game.
So
When it hits,
it's
it
just a
hits.
little bit awkward trying to figure out what
That's
is
right
the
there.
most valuable way I can use what I have
It's really
on the board. And he's not even, he has 0 amber at this point, so the miasma, it feels, sometimes you just got to burn the miasma, you can't hold it too long. And I have one in archive, so I'm okay playing it for the pit, but it's not a huge advance. Relentless Whispers can't even kill somebody. But it's clogging up my hand, and I need to continue to cycle. I need to get through my deck. I think overall when I see my whole deck, so I'm going Shadows. When I see my whole deck, I tend to see so I'm playing the Relentless Whisper, putting 2 into Crump, because I just don't want him to get multiple like gauntlets of commands, and like Crump starts picking off these like 2 power guys. Like I don't want to give him lots of triggers off of Crump with his particular Brobnar set. So I want to cycle because I think once I see my whole deck, that's when like a lot of the pieces come together. And so holding 3 Shadows cards isn't great. And they also have the Amber Pips, so it pushed me up to 7 Amber, threatening to forge my second key. But then he uses Bait and Switch. Thank goodness for that errata. Otherwise, I'd be at 3 Amber, he'd be at 4, and that would hurt a lot. Then he drops Urchin,
Because I think I would have had it otherwise.
plays Umbra, so his board is getting pretty wide at this point. Again, making the play a little awkward for me because I could Gateway here and kill all that stuff off, but then I lose the Terror with the Jammer Pack, and I'm giving him 4 Ambers, so I'm basically handing him a key. However, I do have Drumble in hand, and I do have a Rise, so I can safely do the little trick here. I just don't have a lot of like this. I have so everything but Succubus in my discard pile. So this is where like Drumble comes in pretty great because Mars is just not helping me at this point. Like I would have loved to draw into Psychic Network at this point and steal a bunch and then, reap ahead. But we'll see which way I go. Okay, so I do go Mars. It's funny watching this back thinking, I don't know why I did that. I wonder, like, there's part of me I'm like, I think Gateway was probably an easy play there, but I think I'm just trying to get more value out of my Mars guys before, and so I opt to go ahead and take out his Umbra so he can't keep stealing with his shadows. I don't know if that was the best. I mean, I feel like I could have just reaped anyways, but basically forcing him to go into Brobnar if he wants a board presence. And I'm thinking if he goes Brobnar and starts trying to kill my Mars guys, that just opens it up really easy for me to go back to Dis and Gateway to Dis, kill everything, and then arise it all back and do some Drumble stuff. So he does go Brobnar, plays the Mighty Javelin and the second Gauntlet of Command, which is pretty nasty.
Gotcha. Dang, that's such a bummer.
Immediately I'm thinking Mighty Javelin has that Omni effect, sacrifice a deal 4 to a creature. That's a very easy way to kill Drumble, even though he has the elusive. Looking at my hand, I'm trying to figure out how to get Drumble next to the Shadow Self to protect him a little bit.
This work?
But I fear that there's just not enough time to do that in the timeline that I want to do it.
Hello? Can you hear me?
So I think right now it's like he wants to kill my Marauders, but he can't do it with Crump because they're 4 powers, so they'll kill Crump and he won't get the ability to take me off. So he's got to use Crump to kill the Marauder or Bolter if he wants to do it that way. But he's also thinking about the Terror over there, just chilling there with this Jammer Pack. Have you ever seen those like fanny packs that have that basically play music? They're called jammy packs. Get it? Because you jam out with your fanny pack, jammy pack. That's what I think of when I see jammer pack. The jammy pack. All right. So Gauntlet Command uses Troll to fight the Marauder. So again, I'm just trying to get back in my team chat because it keeps. For some reason, it just kept killing me there.
Testing.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Hey, I don't. That's
Good
weird.
to have you back.
I have no. Yeah, we're back to the game. All right, so so Smash fights the other Marauder. Crump fights Bolter. So again, he's just you know, he's bursting up. He's making me lose stuff. I think that's why I went back to Mars. Figured I'd get some advantage because I figured he'd go back to Brobnar. And then Smash fights the Terror. So. So it's not a like super threatening board, but he does have the Succubus and he does have the Crump. Even though he's at 5 damage, it just you know, to pull him off from even forging his key, I think. You know, we do have the Miasma, but we can't do if I play out Shadow Self and Urchin, and then I have to Gateway. I'm killing the Shadow Self anyways.
I don't even own this deck.
Which feels bad, but we'll see what I end up doing here.
Wait, what?
I don't even own this deck.
So he does get to check for the first time.
Borrowed it from
checking on my discard, trying to remember what I have in there.
He quit.
Again, thankfully, in the beginning of the game, I had those four disc creatures: the Terror, Snudge, Double Ember Imp. So I am going to this. Here comes the Gateway. Let's just kill everything. Let's play the Arise, get all the disc stuff back. And if you look at it, it's pretty nasty because Drumble's going to capture anything because he has more than 7. And because he doesn't have any Amber, then when I play Terror, I'm going to get 2 Amber. Then I'll play out Ember Imp, Snudge, which is pretty, again, just pretty crazy because so he's got the Mighty Javelin. And I'm thinking he can use that on Drummel, get his Amber back. But like anything else he plays, you know, if he doesn't do it on the Ember Imps, like the Ember Imps will just like continue to slow him down.
Go for it, man.
So anyways, that's this turn right here is one of my favorite favorite plays of the deck.
I jumped on your server. Sorry.
I don't care.
Sorry, man. Wrong one.
Sometimes you also can, depending on what they do, you can snudge and return the terror back to your hand because it returns a flank creature or an artifact. And so you can snudge back the terror and play him out after he reaps, so you can kind of get like 3 amber out of it. Or fight, take a bunch of damage, and return him, and then play him all healed or something like that. So he's got Mighty Javelin. Kevin. Snudge has a lot of
so you can take out the Drumble,
utility.
But still have the 2 Ember Imps. But the double Gauntlet of Command helps him a lot, because if he goes Brobnar and has 1 Brobnar creature, you can probably kill all of them.
He can run into them both, yeah.
So he's debating what to do. Again, I've put him back down to 0 amber, threatening to forge my second key.
They get you chained up too.
I'm looking through his discard. Because I drew into Control the Weak. So I'm thinking I've got 5 disc creatures out there that are pretty powerful if he doesn't deal with them. So it'd be very easy for me to go back to. I also left Drumble on the side so that I could put Shadow Self next to him, which is another option. But I can Control the Weak, so I'm thinking, hey, what do I do? What house do I make him go to that will put him in an awkward position?
I guess the Mighty Javelin. It's on
where he has to do something where it'll allow me to potentially reap out and put myself well ahead. So
yeah, he's going distance.
He
only got one
opts to go to Dis.
Really?
Crump and Troll are in there, and then so is Smash. So yeah, he's got Valor.
I'm thinking we still haven't seen that second Arise, but here comes the third Succubus.
Right.
And there's the Pit Demon.
Yeah, and he's got another Gauntlet of Command. Still needs to come out too.
Okay, so I'll snudge, return one of these fools to his hand.
It doesn't really matter which one.
It's like, do I want to draw another card? I mean, I'm chained up.
He might be debating if he does that. So, so Mighty Javelin, he opts to deal a forward Snudge, which he did earlier in the game. He did kill Snudge, so he sees Snudge as a threat. Personally, I don't know if I would leave double Ember Amp with Drumble out there.
Although I could go
but like I said, Snudge is pretty solid. But what that means is he has to discard his Dominator Bauble, discard his Snudge, because the double Ember Imp out there is pretty solid. So at this point, I do have a tough call because I can go Dis and Reap up with 4, and play the Control the Weak to get up to 6 and threaten my next key. But the Gauntlet of Command makes it a little awkward because if I force him to go to Brobnar, he can use his guys to fight and also play out guys. If I go Dis, he can steal with Pit Demon. So I think I'm just debating what to do here. Because I can also go with Shadows and put that Shadow Self out to protect the Drumble and try to play a little bit more of the long game. The Dis route maybe is a little bit more aggressive. The Shadows side is a little bit more conservative but more controlled, I guess you could say. The awkward part is I have the Urchin, and he doesn't have any Amber, so I don't want to waste. I opt to fight the Succubus, which I don't know is correct because I could have just hit. I could have hit 6, and I think I realized that after I did it. So I opted to Control the Weak.
He's not pushing.
Again, the question is, where do I go? If I go Brobnar, he has to fight with Pit Demon and he can't steal with him. So I went Brobnar because he doesn't have a lot of Amber control in the Brobnar department, which again is probably the reason I should have called, or I should have reaped with the Terror, and then forced him to go back to Brobnar. So that was probably a misplay there.
You kind of cornered him into it. Yes.
Because because I was thinking if he doesn't have I think he had just Valdir left. I was thinking if he doesn't have the Brobnar creature, then he's in an awkward position. But he does have it, so he's able to fight the Ember Imp and then fight the second Ember Imp.
At this point,
so again,
that was the only.
All in all, probably just a misplay. He doesn't even get any Amber, so it's super awkward and.
I think he still doesn't have Amber.
Not sure where to go from here.
there any way you could?
Granted, he still is at
I can
0
go
amber,
Shadow
no
Self,
keys, but
I
that
can miasma
Drumble is
and get
is,
the amber pip.
probably not long for the world at some point. So
I almost think that's worth it to kind of cycle your hand a little bit because you need.
it's always fun watching back your own games and seeing where you probably
And
made a
you protect
mistake,
Then you can settle them all too. Don't forget to.
and trying to
Okay.
reason your way through it.
Go.
All right, so I could have reaped twice and just put myself in that position, but at this point, yeah. So you go ahead and go back to Shadow, settle them all, get rid of a Silvertooth. Decide to go play a little bit more of the long game. Shadow Self out there, put Dodger out on the right so he could fight and steal. Get the miasma, so I still get to check, but he can just go dis and steal one with Pit Demon. So just trying to evaluate if I should hold the Urchin, if I should play him out for potentially the reap. Ultimately, decided I wanted to clear out my hand and just try to cycle back into stuff because the stuff I have left, like Psychic Network now, just feels like a dead card. Because I don't have the Mars creatures ready to go. It's really slow. And Ammonia Clouds is awkward because I don't want to kill my own Drumble. And it wouldn't necessarily like destroy his board either.
So I think that's probably.
So yeah.
Your right move.
So my deck is at this point slowing down a little bit, but I'm trying to threaten enough checks that he has to make less than optimal plays.
I think. Great if you beat him to key 1, but if you beat him to key 2, you put yourself in a really pretty spot.
Yeah.
So he goes with his Arise, meaning Succubus, 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 and Snudge are all coming back, which makes me really nervous, to be honest. Triple Succubus, it feels like maybe just enough to choke me out for the end game, where if he just keeps me a little bit off check, I have 3 cards in hand every turn because I can't deal with the Succubus. It just makes me nervous.
All right, so he's gonna play triple
And
Succubus
again,
on me.
both Martian Generosities are my bottom 9 cards. Like, this is just silly.
So Pit Demon's able to steal one, pull me off check from my last key, and then
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Snudge comes down, and
I agree with you. I'm just
all the Succubus.
annoyed that
All
it's
of
even giving
A million
him
of them.
because this makes me think that game 3 he's not willing to go to that many chains.
I think at this
Yeah, I
point,
really hope
again,
pushed a
I was
lot.
thinking about, before this matchup, the Ammonia Cloud specifically in my hands,
In that case, though, you
and the
still
fact that it does 3 to
played
each,
that deck
and
with chains on
the
it.
Succubus are all 3, and and there's a Shaffles too.
Oof.
I think at this point, I know
so
I've got to go
I'm
Mars
thinking about doing Ammonia Clouds and clearing.
and just wipe that. I don't think I have an option there because Shaffles is going to keep messing with me. The Succubus are going to kill my hand, and I just have to go to my outs. I mean, the Ammonia Clouds kills 5 of his creatures
Are
and
you still good?
kills 1, 2, 3 of mine. So I think ultimately,
I'm trying to get to my final keys.
because I'll kill the Urchin, the Shadow Self, and the Terror.
Oh, I think we lost
Leaving the
him.
Drumble and Dodger, which the Drumble isn't well protected, but again, just trying to play my outs, looking ahead, what I have. It's like I have Poison Wave coming, but it's not enough.
Kev, I cannot draw.
These are the points of games where, you might be a little bit ahead, but you know that, like, even in chess, you make 1 or 2 bad moves, and even if you're ahead,
I think I'm just.
all of a
nervous,
sudden you
dude.
look around
It's
and
just one hell of a-
they've regained the lead quickly, and you've run out of answers. So
So, here, have fun, Jim.
so I'm definitely taking my time to make this decision, making sure that it's the right one.
Nothing about it.
I just feel
But
like
looking
it's
back
just
now,
silly.
I think the Mars play is the only play.
You still got this roll.
I think I go
So Battlefleet,
Mars
do get to
here
draw
and just
3.
run clear up the board some,
And
cycle
don't get
cards,
any
because
Mars
unfortunately I don't
stuff,
have
which
GP
I was hoping to get the Orbital Bombardment because that would allow me to essentially wipe his whole board by hitting Pit Demon and Snudge. So I'm a little upset about that, but it's okay. That would have been really sweet to wipe his whole board with the Orbital Bombardment in turn with the Ammonia Cloud. So And then this is the awkward time. Again, it's like I have the Psychic Network. I've got some Reap Capture. Do I hold it to steal one next round? I have an awkward board because I have 1 Dis, 1 Shadows, 1 Mars. I think probably the right call there would have been discarding the Psychic Network, knowing I can easily go back to Dis and push a little harder, but I have this weird obsession with Psychic Network, and it's probably my Achilles heel trying to get that off, even though it doesn't work very often. All right, so turn 12, going back to Heartman.
All right,
I've lost my team again.
He doesn't have too much to protect. And he's dwindle.
Can you hear me again?
Trying to get connected
Yeah.
again, and we're back.
All right, I just think I just disconnect, reconnect, and then that gets me there.
Also, random thing I like about kiptournaments.com
Yeah,
is
that'll
the
get me off
ability
my
to have
fine.
that Wild Wormhole custom
He's
like
definitely
play
not
mat
doing
essentially.
put his foot down.
No.
So hopefully, maybe TCO can implement that as we
No, I do have control of the week. In
will
my
be
hand, so
using
I'm trying to
TCO
figure out,
exclusively
like,
now, which they do a great job too. So
here, it's just
I'm
like, if I can get
I'm
to
happy
this
with our
point,
options
it's
still.
taking Amber
Still.
for me. Like
Well-
if I go control the week.
So
and,
his deck is getting really thin. So I'm trying to think, what have I not seen? At this point, no, I haven't seen Champions Challenge.
like
I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen Poison Wave, and I haven't seen Trubaroo.
I
Yeah,
can
like-
fear. I can
yeah,
But at this
fear
point,
Pit Demon back.
Trubaroo's not even an option for him.
Succubus. I literally just need to get to 6 and make him go to a house that can't do anything.
Well, he's got 3 cards left in deck, so depending on how the hand plays
So
out,
again,
if he
trying
plays
to
less
look
than
through what he has in
3,
his discard.
plays 3, can figure out what his cards are in hand.
What options he
If you
has.
could help me with that, that'd be huge.
Yeah, I'll sit here and I'll look at his discard. He's got 1 Brobnar card.
Man, even watching this back, I'm still upset I didn't draw into that Orbital Bombardment because
Oh, here comes
it would have been such a sick play to be able to battle fleet into Orbital Bombardment, then drop the Ammonia Clouds, and just wipe his board, put myself in a better position. But he plays the Ganger Chieftain to fight the Snudge into Drumble because the elusive is there. He gets to proc Snudge's ability without him
You
dying,
lied to me, Kevin.
which is a little unfortunate.
Sorry.
I think at this point he's probably deciding what to send back. He does return Grabber Jammer, at which point I know holding the Psychic Network was the wrong call. Gauntlet of Command, raises and fights the Ganger Chieftain to fight Drumble, so he's getting all his Amber back. Gauntlet of Command, readies,
Alright, so what
and he's
house
able to
do I
fight
go back
Dodger.
to?
And then he wipes my
Brobnar,
board
so
in
all he
response.
has
So
left-
that's Keyforge for you.
Doesn't have anything.
So again,
Brobnar.
trying to figure out, because I
He's
have
got
control of the
Challenge,
week.
He's
So
got 2
I'm
on
thinking
board.
I've seen all of his deck
So
except
he's
for
got
one
a
card.
Gauntlet
So
of
what are
Command.
his
That's the
outs? What
only
does he
Brobnar
have
card that I
available
believe he has.
to pull me off of check? Because sometimes you just have to get to 6, and if they don't have answers, they don't have answers. So
Champions Challenge.
again, thinking Brobnar, there's nothing for board control except Crump, but Crump is in the discard pile.
He can go
He can
So if I get
Gauntlet,
rid of-
but
I can,
Gauntlet
if
makes
I
him
put
fight.
Pit Demon back in his hand.
So that doesn't necessarily help him at this point.
Because I can fear Pit Demon back. Control the week gives me my Amber Pip to get to 6, make him go Brobnar, and he just can't. Right from there, you can't stop me.
From there, there's no way that he should be able to stop you. Make sure to
Ultimately
reread
do
Champions
go
Challenge just
to
wait
dis.
for it, but-
No, I know. They just fight.
Playing out the
Two strong
fear.
guys Fight. Everyone else gets wiped.
Let me do a secondary count.
Returning Pit
It's
Demon
too late.
just so he can't
Marty,
steal
Too late?
in case
Marty,
there is an
do
out.
it.
Play out the Succubus and
I
control the
still think
week.
they did right.
Force him to go back to Brobnar
Twice between both of us,
and see what he has.
so.
So he does get to forge his first key,
Interesting.
and he has to go Brobnar. Control the weak plays are always super interesting. Trying to make the right call.
Yeah.
And that's
one.
it. That is the game.
Congrats, man.
So that is game 1 of our Triad matchup in the top 16. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will be doing commentary on the next one shortly, and we'll see you in the next one.